Sometimes fame comes with more than glitz, glamour, and applause. It comes with an uncanny sense of destiny. For some of Hollywood's brightest stars, the lights of stardom illuminated not just their rise but the shadows of what was to come. From whispered warnings and recurring nightmares to carefully marked calendars and chilling confessions, these actors seemed to sense the ends that awaited them long before anyone else could. This is a collection of 13 haunting tales where intuition, obsession, or premonition foreshadowed tragedy, revealing a side of Hollywood rarely seen, the private, eerie knowledge that their final curtain was already written. 1. James Dean. Some people seem to flirt with fate, and James Dean lived on the edge of inevitability. Just a week before his death, actor Alec Guinness saw Dean's new Porsche Spyder and issued a chilling warning, "By 10 o'clock at night next Thursday you'll be dead if you get into that car." Dean laughed it off, dismissing the ominous prediction. Exactly 7 days later, on September 30, 1955, Dean's mangled body was pulled from that very car on a California highway. He was only 24. Even more haunting, in his final public service announcement, Dean looked directly into the camera and said, "Life you might save might be mine." The studio initially shelved the footage, finding it too disturbing to air. Those close to him later revealed he'd been plagued by recurring nightmares about highways and screeching tires for months. Elizabeth Taylor, his co-star in Giant, recalled Dean telling her, "I've got a custom-built coffin waiting for me around the corner." Dean's mechanic, Ralph Vitherick, survived the crash and said that just before impact, Dean reportedly turned to him and whispered, "That guy's got to stop. He's got to see us." Dean's life and death became a living embodiment of the doomed youth he so often portrayed on screen. Director Nicholas Ray reflected after his death, noting Dean had a talent for living the role of the doomed boy, both on and off camera. He wasn't acting, he was simply James Dean. 2. Carole Lombard. Sometimes destiny whispers in dreams, and Carole Lombard listened too closely. Hollywood screwball queen was haunted by a recurring nightmare of dying in a plane crash. In January 1942, after a war bond tour, she was scheduled to return by train but chose to fly instead, eager to reunite with her husband, Clark Gable. Even before boarding, Lombard consulted a fortune teller who warned her against air travel. At the airport, she froze at the gate, telling her mother, "I have a strange feeling about this trip." Hours later, her plane crashed into Potosi Mountain near Las Vegas, killing all 22 passengers. Gable, devastated, immediately enlisted in the Army Air Forces, saying he no longer cared if he lived or died. Lombard's premonition had been strikingly specific. Her friend Malene Fields recalled Lombard describing a mountain under a blanket of stars, exactly how the crash unfolded that night. Government officials had pressed her to fly, citing patriotic duty after her war bond rally. Had she taken the train, she might have survived. Lombard's death at just 33 robbed Hollywood of a luminous talent, and Gable never fully recovered. On his deathbed in 1960, he reportedly whispered, "I'm going to her now," perhaps his own premonition of reuniting with the wife he lost 18 years earlier. 3. Montgomery Clift. Sometimes tragedy comes with an eerie sense of timing. After his disfiguring 1956 car accident, Montgomery Clift confided in Elizabeth Taylor, "I'm not going to make it much longer, Liz." He even kept a personal countdown calendar, marking off days with an X. 4 years later, almost to the day of his prediction, Clift was found dead of a heart attack at 45. His sealed journals, revealed in 2010, contained detailed premonitions, including the haunting line, "When the clock strikes, I'll know it's time." Friends and colleagues noted the precision of his foresight. Close friend Kevin McCarthy recalled Clift had calculated his death at exactly 45, while director Fred Zinnemann remembered him saying, "On from here to eternity, my heart feels like a time bomb." His brother Brooks revealed Clift maintained a small box with instructions for his funeral, songs, poems, and other details, updated regularly in anticipation of the inevitable. Even on the night he died, Clift watched The Misfits, then called longtime friend Nancy Walker, telling her, "I think it's time for the curtain." Hours later, his prediction came true. Montgomery Clift's life and death remain a chilling testament to a man who seemed to count down the moments until his own final act. 4. Marilyn Monroe. Sometimes goodbye comes in whispers, long before the world notices. On the night of her death in August 1962, Marilyn Monroe made a series of phone calls that now read like desperate final farewells. To Peter Lawford she said, "Say goodbye to the president and say goodbye to yourself because you're a nice guy." To her housekeeper Eunice Murray, her final words were, "This is the last time you'll make me a bed." Murray wouldn't understand the significance until discovering Monroe's body the next morning. In her last interview with Life magazine, published just days prior, Monroe cryptically stated, "I don't want to have to be Joan of Arc all the time. I want to live my own now and then." The title of the interview now rings with tragic irony. Fewer know that Monroe kept a red leather diary in her final days, which mysteriously vanished after her death. According to friend Ralph Roberts, it contained premonitions and named people she feared. She told him, "If anything happens to me, you'll know who to blame." Her psychiatrist, Dr. Ralph Greenson, later revealed in sealed testimony that Monroe discussed death with increasing frequency, asking precise questions about painless methods of passing. "It wasn't a cry for help," Greenson said. "It was preparation." Perhaps most chilling, Monroe had scheduled a meeting with producer Ray Stark the day after her death, setting her alarm and laying out clothes, hardly the actions of someone planning to end their life. Marilyn Monroe's final hours blur the line between premonition and performance, leaving a haunting question. Did she foresee her fate, or was it her last, unspoken act of control? 5. George Sanders. Sometimes foresight is a lifelong rehearsal, not a whim. Sophisticated British actor George Sanders, an Academy Award winner for All About Eve, left a chilling final mark in 1972. Checking into a hotel near Barcelona, he ingested 5 bottles of Nebital and left a note, "Dear world, I am leaving because I am bored. I feel I have lived long enough. I am leaving you with your worries in this sweet cesspool." Investigators later discovered Sanders had written this exact note 5 years earlier and carried it with him ever since. He had told friends repeatedly that he would end his life at 65, and he did, to the very day. 6. Thelma Todd. Sometimes knowing your danger doesn't save you. Comedy actress Thelma Todd, famed as Hollywood's ice cream blonde, repeatedly warned friends in late 1935 that she feared being murdered. On December 16th, she was found dead in her garage from carbon monoxide poisoning. While officially ruled a suicide, numerous details suggested foul play. Most chillingly, Todd had told her maid just days earlier, "If something happens to me, don't think for a minute it was an accident." 7. John Garfield. Sometimes the body whispers the future before the mind catches up. John Garfield, star of The Postman Always Rings Twice, had battled a heart condition since childhood. In 1952, amid the stress of being blacklisted during the McCarthy era, he confided to director Abraham Palansky, "My heart can't take much more of this." Just 3 weeks later, on May 21st, Garfield died of a heart attack in a friend's apartment at the age of 39. Garfield's story is a haunting reminder that sometimes, the signs of fate are clear to those who live closest to the edge. 8. Alan Ladd. Sometimes premonitions whisper in quiet obsessions. Handsome star Alan Ladd, celebrated for Shane, struggled with depression and alcohol abuse in his later years. In January 1964, he was found dead in his Palm Springs home from an acute overdose of alcohol and sedatives. What makes Ladd's story particularly chilling is his fixation on drowning. According to his son David, Ladd had recurring nightmares of being unable to surface from underwater. Though he didn't die by drowning, Ladd's body was discovered near the pool, a haunting echo of his fears. His obsession became a grim foreshadowing, a silent map marking where his life would ultimately end. 9. Carol Landis. Sometimes the end is scheduled long before it arrives. Hollywood actress Carol Landis, known for her beauty and charm, had marked a specific date on her calendar, July 5, 1948. When asked by her housekeeper what the date meant, she simply replied, "You'll find out." On that exact day, Landis took an overdose of Seconal, ending her life at just 29. What makes her story particularly chilling is the meticulous planning. She settled her affairs, paid bills, wrote letters to friends, and even cancelled delivery services for the following day. Landis didn't act on impulse, she scheduled her fate with eerie precision. That calendar date became a haunting marker, a quiet countdown to a choice only she fully understood. 10. Gig Young. Sometimes a dark joke becomes a chilling prophecy. Oscar-winning actor Gig Young, known for his charm and wit, had long spoken morbidly about murder-suicide, often joking that it was the only escape from a bad marriage. During his previous marriage to Elizabeth Montgomery, he made so many comments that her father warned her to leave him. In 1978, the horrifying premonition became reality. Just 3 weeks into a new marriage, Young shot his bride in their Manhattan apartment before turning the gun on himself. His longtime agent, Martin Ball, later revealed that Young had been obsessed with famous Hollywood murder-suicides and even told director Sidney Pollack while filming "They shoot horses, don't they? I'll probably be remembered for shooting myself someday." 11. Barbara Payton. Sometimes fame comes with a built-in expiration date. Barbara Payton, once a rising starlet of 1950s Hollywood, had a clear sense of her own downward spiral. In 1963, she warned a reporter, "I'll end up in the gutter. Mark my words." By 1967, her grim premonition had materialized. Homeless and struggling with addiction, she turned to survival on the streets of Sunset Boulevard. Her ex-husband Franco Tone attempted interventions, but Payton dismissed them, saying, "Don't waste your money. I've got a date with the gutter that I can't miss." In her final interview, she accepted her fate with haunting clarity, "I always knew I'd end up here. Some people are born for happy endings. Others aren't. I always saw this coming, clear as day." 12. William Holden. Sometimes foresight can't outrun fate. William Holden, the Academy Award-winning actor, lived with a very specific fear, dying alone in his apartment. By the late 1970s, as his struggles with alcoholism deepened, he confided to his partner Stephanie Powers, "I'll probably fall and hit my head when no one's around to help." In November 1981, that nightmare became reality. Holden slipped on a throw rug, hit his head on a bedside table, and bled to death alone, his body undiscovered for days. Holden's awareness of his fate, and his attempts to control it, only make the tragedy of its inevitability more haunting.